Okay, well, we might get started. So welcome everyone to Corethics Waste for Wealth pre-event webinar. Before I get started, I would like to let everyone know that this webinar is being recorded for later use and is being live streamed to Facebook. So welcome everyone. I wish to pay my respects to the Awabakal people whose land I'm streaming from today. I pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging, and recognise that sovereignty was never ceded. So a bit of an overview of today. So over the next hour, you'll learn all about Corethics Waste for Wealth project as I explore the complexities of achieving social and environmental justice in small and micro industries in Bali, Indonesia, and present to you our program. Then I'll hand it over to our in-country partner at Kopernik, Oscar, who will provide an introduction to that organisation and discuss why our project is so important, drawing on his experience in Indonesia. Following Oscar, the very talented Dorothy from Corethics will enlighten us with her technical perspective as chemical engineer on our Waste for Wealth project, from circular wastewater treatment to the impacts of chemicals in the environment. Dorothy will also share with you ways you can get involved to help drive much needed change in Indonesia. Then finally, we will open up into a Q&A, so a fantastic opportunity to ask our expert panel anything and deepen your understanding of the importance of our Waste for Wealth project. So hello everyone, my name is Melissa McCabe and I'm the founder, chair and CEO of Corethics. Waste for Wealth is a Corethics initiative and a direct response to my research findings in 2017, where through desk and in-field research, I identified an unsolved and complex issue of chemical water pollution from local industry in Bali. My love and passion to take action on global issues like water, poverty and sustainable development has grown through my travel experiences and of course through university education in international relations, development studies, environmental science, human geography, politics and peace. Indeed, tourism has the power to create peace around the world by transcending language and cultural barriers. Established in 2018, Corethics' vision is to create sustainable and thriving communities in the developing world. We do this through partnering with community-led ethical organisations to support innovative projects. We aren't afraid of trying new things to solve old problems and believe in taking a strengths-based approach to development, conducive with long-lasting peace. Corethics' charitable purpose is to advance education and the natural environment. Corethics is an all-volunteer-run charity established right here in Newcastle, Australia, with volunteers hailing right across the country. We are a team of around 30 from diverse backgrounds and skill sets who are passionate about taking action for a more ethical world. Our door is always open, so if you or someone you know is keen to get involved, head to our website www.corethics.net/join for our latest positions and contact details. Climate change is one of the biggest issues that we face. It's an existential threat. What UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has labelled a code red for humanity. Yes, you should be alarmed, and yes, we must take action. Why? Because the climate crisis is a water crisis and therefore a food crisis. Human-induced climate change means unpredictable weather patterns that disrupt food production. And water, beyond its obvious qualities, is now being recognised as a way to reduce carbon emissions and enhance carbon sequestration. Corethics' Waste for Wealth project addresses water and food security, contributing to climate-resilient communities. So let's dive in further. Toxic chemical pollution is frequently discharged into rivers, affecting the poorest communities in the world. In Denpasar, Bali, this toxic waste derives from factories in clothing and food manufacturing. Unfortunately, this issue is not isolated to Bali. Right across Southeast Asia, this is a largely invisible problem that remains unsolved. until, of course, the river turns red, as pictured here, as recently as October 2020 in Denpasar. The lack of research, education, finance, and local infrastructure are just some of the barriers holding communities back from life-changing innovative solutions. Left unsolved, toxic chemicals pose a serious threat to human health, animal species, biodiversity, and communities downstream from factories. And as a global village, we must change the way we do things now if we are to reduce the impacts of climate change. Environmental justice. In 2016, 21 rivers had pollution levels in Bali at a level of -30 to -70, where 0 was considered a safe level due to domestic and industrial waste. For those familiar with Corethics' Water for Bali project, you will know that Bali already suffers a water shortage, so protecting what available water sources is crucial to achieving environmental justice. The fashion and food manufacturing industries are guilty of water overuse, generally a very water-intensive industry, dumping of chemical waste, and water pollution of surface water. The planet and the industry does not have the capacity to carry on with current practices, nor will people have a job to go to if we don't revolutionise the way we produce food and clothing. This is not just an environmental call to action, this is also a project that affects human rights. Factory workers exposed to harmful chemicals can have serious short-term effects such as skin irritations, up to long-term effects like endocrine disruptors. Education, finance, and infrastructure barriers means that poverty is at the root cause of inaction. It is estimated that hundreds of small and micro enterprises are dotted across the island, and in our project location, workers are often living on the edge of poverty, stuck in a perpetual cycle of inaction. Local communities rely on river systems to bathe, wash clothing, cooking, and domestic watering, so this has a far-reaching impact. Inequity is apparent, which means the haves pursue sustainable development and get ahead, while the have-nots do not. The United Nations Sustainable Development Goal number 17, Partnership for the Goals, calls for preferential terms for developing countries when it comes to innovation, and Waste for Wealth does just that. So Corethics' solution to this complex problem is driven through our mission to bring together local workers, researchers, engineering experts, policymakers, and funders to build strong and resilient local communities in Bali. By creating a network between Australia and Indonesia, we are able to create the exchange of skills and expertise between the two countries to solve the most pressing social and environmental issues. We see this as an opportunity to turn wastewater into wealth-generating products like biogas and organic fertilizer through an extraction process during processing. There is a plethora of opportunity to reduce CO2 emissions, improve soil quality, and create healthy communities and clean environments. Our theory of change includes 4 programs: education, partnerships, community, and government, in order to achieve that impact. Corethics is committed to spreading awareness about what needs to change, giving wealthy, developed nations like Australia an opportunity to make a difference in the developing world. We do so through free, informative webinars, just like today, workshops, fundraisers, podcasts, digital and print material. Through education, we hope to facilitate the redistribution of wealth to where it is needed most. Corethics facilitates the collaboration between Australian and Indonesian education institutions, such as universities, to continuously gather, analyse, and discover new and affordable environmental solutions. Through these partnerships, we hope to build strong and resilient future-ready communities in Bali. Our community training program explores the dangers of chemicals, environmental impact, and creating a safe workplace now and into the future. This program will also ensure workers have the right tools and training to operate, maintain, and drive new wastewater technology that is implemented. Through this program, we hope to enable local workers to gain skills and knowledge to create safe and sustainable workplaces. Corethics will facilitate dialogue between local government, factory associations, and community leaders to work together on the project. We know that without community support and leaders, long-lasting change is not possible. A successful program will see local workers who are supported by the government to maintain safe and sustainable workplaces. So our current progress. So thank you so much to all the kind donations that have poured in so far. We have set a goal of raising $30,000 by January 2022, and we are just 8% along the way. With the 30,000, we will be able to engage, commit and plan and formalise goals under our government program. In partnership with Kopernik, we'll be able to undertake preliminary surveys and interviews with the local Denpasar area, focused on factories lining the Tukad Badung River. We would then be able to collect crucial data such as water samples for analysis in order to design an effective, affordable and appropriate solution for the local community. We will also continue our education program and continue to engage, commit, plan and formalise goals through MOUs within our university program, such as our partnership with Engineers Without Borders. For $30,000, we'll be able to undertake all of these activities in 2022. So let's talk a little bit about our upcoming event. So we have earmarked the 11th of December from 5 to 9 p.m. in Newcastle, in exactly 1 month's time at Pachamama House in Newcastle. So don't just take our word for it. Come along and see for yourself as we screen River Blue, a beautiful documentary that reveals the truth about fashion and its impact on rivers around the world, particularly in developing countries. We know this will stir lots of thought and emotion, so we've put together an expert panel to share their experiences. You'll hear from Dorothy Delosa, who is on our webinar today, Liam Scanlon, who is the founder and director of Eat Your Water, a Newcastle e-commerce business who manufactures in Indonesia. He's taken it upon himself to be the change and create an ethical and sustainable brand, as well as Tim Connor, who is a senior lecturer at the University of Newcastle. He's previously worked as a labour rights and advocacy coordinator at Oxfam, so his expertise in that area, being able to share his on-the-ground experience about the complexities of the human rights element of our project is second to none. So we cannot wait to welcome you to the wonderful community hub that is Pachamama in Newcastle, and urge you to bring all of your friends, family and colleagues to join us. Head over to our website for all of our ticketing information. We'll have a fantastic raffle as well. So lots of opportunity to get involved and have a fun night. So now I'd like to introduce you to our guest speaker all the way from Bali, Indonesia, Oscar Casalderrey. Oscar leads Kopernik's last mile consulting team, assisting private companies and public entities to develop and market innovative and socially responsible solutions. His expertise in providing leadership in international organizations, optimizing resources and maximizing on delivery completion are some of the reasons why Corethics has chosen to partner with Corethics. Please welcome Oscar.
Thank you so much, Melissa. So let me share my screen so I can introduce a bit of who we are and what we do. All right. Okay, are you able to see the screen already? Hope so. Yes. All right, great. Thank you. So Kopernik is an R&D lab for social and environmental issues, founded in 2010 and based in Bali, Indonesia. And we are aiming to find solutions for challenges faced by underserved communities all around Indonesia, but also in other developing countries as well. To do so, we have two main pillars of activities. So on the first one, lean experimentation. Our work goes from the identification of unmet needs for those communities to the ideation, prototyping, and testing of potential solutions. And on the second pillar of activities, solutions in action, our work is more focused on direct support to those communities through technology distribution, disaster response, and capacity development. For the lean experimentation type of work, when we test some of those potential solutions, we collect data on what works and what doesn't, so we can share the results for the most promising solutions to be replicated. And we compile those results and learnings in our solutions catalog. It's a publicly available summary with around 30 experiments from the last couple of years, providing an overview of the problem, the solution, and the effectiveness of that solution. And one of those experiments, as you see on the screen, we tested the performance of a simple batik wastewater treatment method to treat the wastewater produced by homemakers in East Java before discharging it to the ground. So the batik is a traditional technique to dye clothes originated in Java, and is very common here everywhere in Indonesia. It provides jobs for more than 200,000 people, both a big scale and also homemade scale. However, the process of making batik produces wastewater that contains chemical contaminants, even heavy metals, but also organic materials such as ammonia that lead to the contamination of our waterways if it's discharged untreated. And particularly for those homemade businesses, due to the high cost of building a treatment plant, most of them don't use any treatment at all, and they just discharge it into the ground. So to solve that, or to avoid that issue, we tested here a simple and affordable solution to see the performance in reducing contaminants and see if it was able to reach the government standards in terms of safety. And the results were quite promising. And we saw that that solution, being very affordable and homemade, was able to reduce some parameters to a safety level to be discharged on the ground, although not all of them. So we need to continue working on different iterations of the solution. Now, as a continuation of that work, we're partnering with Corethics to undertake a preliminary assessment, as Melissa mentioned, to really understand the situation in Bali this time, not in Java, in particular about the wastewater treatment in the textile industry. And as we've seen in several occasions, probably we have a similar photo that the one is shown before. But the industry is really a persistent source of water contamination, and it's not rare to see this kind of photo in the local news, right? This is, as mentioned, probably the one from October, but from time to time we see a part of a river turn totally blue or red or a different color, right, in the local news. So because of that, we're planning to perform this assessment to map the existing assets and needs of the local industry, but also local associations and the local government. And most of all, to identify what are the good practices and solutions already out there, but also to understand more the scale, the type of contamination, really to identify and quantify that pollution. To be able to design and recommend an effective practical solution for this issue. So I guess that's pretty much all from my side for this couple of minutes. All yours, Melissa.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Oscar. So interesting. And it's fantastic to see that Kopernik have already, done a bit of work in the water space in terms of looking at the batik industry. Now, I do know a little bit of background on that project, but I think it would be really interesting to hear, from your perspective, because obviously with issues so complex like this, we tend to take a very scientific approach, but it would be fantastic to hear from your experience with Kopernik what this type of project means to the community and what type of feedback that you get, because it's an educational experience, right?
Yes, on that, maybe let me continue sharing my screen, and we can see a couple more items that could be interesting. Okay, here we are. So, can you see that? Right, I hope we can see it. Right. So yeah, on that, I want to share this as well to illustrate that importance for the communities, and basically based on some research and some work that we are currently doing. And you can see the map of Bali here, and the area in red is the Ayung River watershed, which is the largest of the 20 watersheds in Bali. And that river alone and the catchment area is serving 59 villages across several regions and cities. What I wanted to show as well is that in particular that river, but more in general in Bali, these are the main sources of water for several purposes. One is irrigation. For example, this river provides water to numerous subak. Subak is a community-based system for rice water management or irrigation that provides staple food to many communities in Bali. And another use of the river is the clean and drinking water, right? Both through PTAM, which is the Indonesian water company, but also unlike in developed countries, in Bali, most people drink water directly from a deep well from the ground, more or less filtered or boiled. But some contaminants like heavy metals can even remain there after that filtration and lead to severe health effects, such as cancer, kidney failure, and so on. Right? Also, tourism is the work particularly provided for hotels, restaurants, and other agritourism initiatives. So we need to do a lot more work to make tourism sustainable, but is providing a lot of, is a major driver for the Bali economy and for jobs for the local people. Right? So yeah, the communities we've worked with, they have responded very positively, and we also have seen an awareness factor, as you were mentioning, where they realize more and more the importance of taking care of the environment and the implication of pouring untreated toxic wastewater into their waterways and rivers.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much, Oscar. Really appreciate your presentation and very interesting. I'm sure lots of people have some questions saved up for the end for Oscar, but I will just go back. Okay. So our next guest is not only Corethics chemical engineering expert, but is also senior trade advisor at the Trade Council of Denmark in Oceania, food, beverage and water and sustainability. Dorothy brings her expertise in wastewater treatment technology with over 10 years experience alongside her research in the field in Taiwan, addressing a very similar issue that we're tackling with Kopernik alongside Oscar. She will join Tim Connor and Liam Scanlon to form our expert panel at an upcoming fundraiser event in December. A wonderful opportunity to meet these experts face to face. Please welcome Dorothy Delosa.
Yes, thank you, Mel. Thank you everyone for finding time later this evening. And appreciate again, Oscar, for giving that overview. And I am in awe of what you do. And again, we are so delighted and looking forward to work with you on this project. So Mel and I had a good contemplation of what to present. And again, I just chose this one to align with the program or the December 11th. So we call it a prelude or a pretext and introduction. So we just wanted to give an overview of the wastewater textile industry, which also was introduced earlier by Mel and by Oscar. So I have, again, these are all available on the internet, and these are actual facts from Europe. So I have chosen 3 beautiful slides just for a good graphic example. So basically, the textile industry uses a whole lot of water for us to create. So according to the Europa website, imagine they use 79 billion liters of water just to, it's being consumed in the production of clothing, as well as any fashion line that we are now experiencing. So again, we are quite fortunate, and that's what Mel is saying. Corethics is really reaching out to the developing countries because we know that there is a need for us to reach out. And with that, we know with this photo, it's very alarming that 2,700 liters of water is consumed just to produce a single shirt that we are all wearing today. So I feel a little bit ashamed of it, but again, that is the whole truth, that's how massive water is consumed. So imagine that's approximately, it says here on the photo, that's about 2.5 years of water that a normal person or a human being is capable of consuming in his lifetime. So these are just fun facts to have a guideline, so to speak. So it could have an imprint for us to be more conscious. So basically, the concept is that we know that the textile industry is a global issue. Global issue because, again, the use of these chemicals are a bit challenging, as what mentioned earlier, because it uses different types of chemicals like dyes, surfactants. So these complex combination really creates that huge challenge for us to treat this kind of wastewater that we call, because besides the fact that it's difficult to degrade, it also it says that a single laundry on this photo gives out about 700,000 microplastic fiber, which eventually ends up at the bottom of the ocean, or also may come into contact with the food chain. So this is also another mindful realization for us to see how the textile industry and the environment is being polluted with just all of these small factors that we do not see. And then the next slide is also a little bit alarming because it's connected to the greenhouse gas emissions. So that is also a big factor wherein, according to European Environment Agency, you could see here that 10% of the global greenhouse gas emission is contributed by the textile industry. So meaning that is more than the emissions produced by the aviation and shipping industry. So it's quite massive in terms of a global percentage or a global perspective. So again, these are 3 pictures that I just wanted to share with you just for your awareness that is happening around us. And the next photo is also telling you why it's a global issue, as I've mentioned, that because these chemicals or synthetic dyes are really difficult for us to treat. And as you've seen with the colors itself, it changes the quality of the water. So it's quite obvious that one thing is the chemicals involved of treating it, plus the color factor that you are drinking red, blue, or maybe pink water in the next couple of days. So it's a bit, it's a conscious effort that Corethics is doing. And again, the education part of it is also very important for us. That's why we are really privileged to work with Kopernik with all their expertise in this field. So in terms of what I would like to share is that as a chemical engineer, these are the things that we learned. And the same fact that I also studied environmental engineering is for me to help how I could counter all these effects in the environment. So for our core ethics, I think the next slide is for you to for us to share a little bit more of what we plan to do. So this is a little snippet of what I've used to do. We do a lot of research, doing sampling, testing, and analysis, which Kopernik's expertise had been heavily involved on the Badung River. So, and it's really a good example for us because besides the water, we are also not looking after the sediments. So this project that we did research is about the contamination of the sediments. So besides the water quality that we are focusing on, we also would like to dig deeper because there are pollutants, or what they call the persistent organic pollutants, or the forever chemicals that are seeping through underneath that we are not aware of. So again, there are a lot of invisible aspects that we as normal human beings does not really take into account, but these are happening globally. So these are the projects or the programs that we would like for you to help us and support us. So this one is what Corethics approach is. We would want your support for us to do the research. So for our research, we would be doing a whole lot of wastewater quality checks. Again, that's very vital for us to know how severe or how the status of the quality is. So at least we would know how we could treat it, how we could revive it, and how the community would benefit for its reuse. So we would be selecting locations and doing sampling. And again, it's really methodological. We just wanted really a good research. And also this part of our goal is that the education part, we would be sharing the information to universities. Partnering with Engineers Without Borders in Australia is also a good collaboration program. So everybody will benefit with the research that we are doing. And the next stages will be for us to find a trial testing on how we would be able to treat the wastewater on in these communities. And thirdly, if we have more funding besides the 30,000, we are also envisioning to put up facilities and also work with partners that could support us in creating all these. As you can see from the diagram, it's a very high-end wastewater treatment from the nanofiltration. You could see all those tanks that are involved. So it would really be a massive effort for us to revive this, but we need your help. So again, we just wanted to reach out to you for us to have your support. So there are many ways that you could help us. Again, we are grateful for your time. If you could share the word and also reach out to your friends, your families, your colleagues to donate for our mission, our purpose. Also, if you know people or companies who are doing corporate partnerships, we are very much welcoming, with open arms to work with you, and also develop sustainable solutions with you. And again, in this point in time, it's very pressing with the ongoing COP26. Everybody's really focusing on the environment, and we want to be on board with that. And again, with the help that you could give us with all these collaboration programs, and if you could also do sponsorship with us, that will be really great. And finally, we thank all our volunteers, the group that is, again, the heart and the brain of this organization, and the great partners that is supporting us to execute our vision. So we thank you, and thank you, Mel, for organizing this webinar. So if you have any questions, please feel free to raise it. Thank you.
Thank you, Dot. Now, in terms of the circular economy approach, so I just wanted to share with everybody just a short video about what this sort of means. Circular economy gets thrown around a lot, and certainly for our project, this is the golden nth that we would love to get to. We know that Bali's already faced with a water issue, and we know that water issues across the world will become first and foremost. So we want to try and get to a point where we're not just treating the water, that we're recycling it and we're extracting every goodness that exists through it. So let me just share with you this little video. It's going to work. Maybe it's not going to work. Not sure if everyone can see that.
You need to share the screen too, Melissa.
Yeah, I think the connection's not strong enough. Sorry, guys. There's a bit of rain activity here. Let's see. Let's try. So that's just a really great video from the World Bank that just really sums up quite well the opportunity that wastewater has and the way that we should.
All right, hello and good morning, everyone.
Re-look at that.
Hope you heard me on the audio check. We gave it a
Okay, so it's over to the audience as we open up into a bit of a Q&A. So if you have any thoughts, any questions, any feedback on any of the content that we've shared with you today, feel free to take advantage of Oscar all the way from Bali and Dorothy all the way in Sydney with us today. Yes, Mary.
Just a couple of questions for Oscar. And I know it's early days for the project. But just with the byproducts, the fertilizer and the biogas potentially is being talked about, would you be handling that or would you have to bring in additional partners? So that's the first question. And secondly, the revenue from that, will that be for the community? Will it be used to create other projects or is it still early days?
Thank you so much. So I guess it's still early days, as you mentioned, and we haven't really discussed on what would be the next steps after this initial research. So we usually go on a step-by-step basis and see what are the unmet needs or the issues and the characteristics that we uncover through the initial research, and we plan for the next one. So, but having said that, we have some collaboration here in Bali with some even home biogas systems in a small scale and so on. So it's something that we don't have all the expertise in-house, but we're always happy to collaborate with experts on the field.
Okay, thanks for that.
That's fantastic. Thanks, Mary. Great question. Anybody else interested in asking, or maybe even just sharing some thoughts? I mean, there was a lot raised in the webinar as well. Maybe there's something new that you learnt today, maybe some old facts that you might already be aware of. Well, if there aren't any further questions, I'd just like to say thank you very much for Oscar from Kopernik joining us today. It's fantastic to have you on board. Great to hear of the amazing work that you're doing. We can't wait to work with you and look forward to seeing each other face to face, meeting face to face, and being able to get across to Bali in the new year. Fingers crossed, everything goes well. And thank you to Dorothy Delosa for joining us from Sydney and sharing her experience as an engineer in the project Waste for Wealth. And thank you to all our audience joining us in the Zoom webinar today, but also on the Facebook Live. If you want any further information, head over to our website. We're always open-minded about how people would like to get involved. And so we can't wait to hear from you. Thank you, everyone. Great.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us.
You're welcome.
Very excited to support the communities with your help.
Yes, absolutely. Lots of work to be done.
Yes.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.